Okay, so I'm on with we got Joe on here. Obviously, you can see him, and we got Lisa Chandler on audio. She's around, gallivanting all over the world, picking up Starbucks and doing awesome stuff. I gotta tell you, Joe, like you're one of the OGs of the OGs of the Uplift, right? Like one of the first people that started doing art galleries, and I think like what you've done on Gratitude is incredible. And I know you guys are doing a bunch of other stuff, and just all the things. Like we've done a couple shows wandering around your stuff, and the art walks are gaining in popularity. I keep hearing about them, but I gotta tell you, dude, just seeing your face just made me happy. Like I feel like it's been a long time. Like I was sort of, I'm a huge fan, but I was pretty surprised by my instant, internal reaction. It's good to see you, man.
Oh, thanks, Corey. You too. It's been incredible. It's hard to believe. It's been about a year, a little more than a year that we've known each other, but so much exciting things have happened. So I'm really grateful.
Right. Yeah. We've been busy. I've been thinking a lot actually about, especially now that my gratitude for what Mojang did deepens by the day. Obviously, like first couple of days, we're like, nah, crap. It was like, not ideal, but getting to the point where the mind test iteration, I think becomes more plausible all the time. What's going on with spatial is more interesting all the time. I'm hitting up the Rocket Gallery opening, which is like based on an Uplift build brought into this virtual reality space or whatever, right? And so I've been thinking a lot about our speed of iteration in metaverse technology, right? Right? Like we were on Minecraft and we were just thinking about like how can we create a new feature for this thing, right? And I think it constrained our thinking in a lot of ways. And now we're sort of busted out, and I keep thinking like, what does this look like in a year, 2 years, 3 years? So let me ask you, Joe, what and I want to chat about like all this. We need an update for all the things you've been up to over the last little while. But where do you think the Uplift will or could be in like 2 to 3 years, right? Like 3 years from now, next Bitcoin peak, more or less, right? Plus or minus, who knows? And like next bull run, certainly, right? Like we're gonna see another one. What's your vision for where we might be?
I think it's gonna be so right now, we have all these galleries and experiences going on in a fine art gaming experience in Minecraft, whereas I think in the future we're going to migrate to these metaverses where, and I think one will be sort of like the main one, but I think we will also branch out to other things. But I think we're going to find a new home in a place where it's a lot more open, and we don't need to worry about, okay, well, what is this corporate entity that we've kind of bootstrapped on top of is doing? And what that's going to look like, I believe it's going to look like, I think it's going to be a cross between like a Crypto Voxels and Decentraland, but I think it's going to be a lot more, I would say it's going to be a lot more exciting and fun. And because I've been to both of those. I've had exhibits in Crypto Voxels at other people's spaces, and I've gone to other people's things in Central Land. I might have been shows there, I'm not sure. And I always got the sense that, okay, people go in, see, confirm that their own show is happening in here, and then they don't really walk around a lot unless there's some kind of event, but it's not as interactive. There's not as much fun stuff happening. So I don't see a massive future in that. I think there's a lot of speculation in it.
Right.
But I think what's going to happen going forward is the ones where you could actually go in and there's a real game, not a boring game, but an actual real action happening around artwork.
Yep.
That's where I think is going to be the future, and ownership of various assets and things like that. So there's still this economic component to it, but it's also open where if you don't have anything, you could still do something. You could still go in and get killed by monsters, or
right?
run away. So I think
run away. Yeah, no, I love that, and that's like we're talking to the team, the people testing out Mindtest as an example. But I'm actually like I'm personally looking into Unreal 5 because I want to understand what it's capable of doing more. Just so that we constantly have, our ear to the ground. And I agree, like that game mechanics, the idea that, you could come and walk around and look at stuff, great. But the fact that, in the Uplift, you can come and walk around and look at stuff and get killed is like a wrinkle. And then in the survival worlds, you need to bootstrap everything. It requires a community to mine all the different things that you put on sale and build up stuff, right? Like that economic engine is a real thing that, can keep people, coming back and keeps things sort of interesting. And there's a real play to earn mechanic, not just on the sort of mining activity side, but on the, people are making not a lot, but like people are making a non-zero amount of money by mining glass or, making glass and selling it or whatever. Right. But I think it's really, really interesting. I think it's the beginning. So the Mindtest thing, we've been talking about starting super vanilla, like the most simple version of it that we can. And then starting to bootstrap the different kinds of game mechanics and actions that we want to do from the ground up, right? So, like, obviously, we want shops and we want mining and we want like some basic things. But like, what kind of mobs do you want? And should our community be designing those bad things or whatever the challenge is, right? So that the entire game is organically built by our community. Because now, like, this is the thing that we're going to be able to do, right? So 3D artists. Like I can't believe I didn't think of it. This was totally not my idea, but like 3D artists coming in to make the mobs that then get launched, right? Or that, you want a pet or like a buddy. I have this thing that will not leave me alone. It's going to happen sooner or later, where you have like a buddy, an NFT that you buy that is your little avatar buddy that kind of hangs out with you in the game, follows you around, and you can train it to build stuff or, farm stuff or whatever. But we're going to attach it to a language engine like GPT-3 so that it'll actually talk to you, right? And like the full vision of this is that NFT will be attached to a database where you're training it to get better at talking to you personally. So you're training kind of a version of this language engine, and we'll keep that in a database so that your buddy knows you and gets better at talking to you. Because that, like, and you scale that out, it starts to look really, really crazy, right? And I don't know if that's going to happen, a year from now or whatever, but it will not leave me alone. It's only a matter of time before we make it happen. And because we're moving platforms, we could do that without we don't ever have to ask Minecraft, to your point, right? Like, we couldn't sell those in Minecraft. They would get very mad, right? And wherever we go next, like, that's going to be the rule. We got a lot from bootstrapping up off of the sort of Minecraft stuff. Like, it was very helpful for us to get to where we are, but yeah, we can never go back.
Yeah. I don't see ourselves being done with Minecraft. I think it's still,
I agree.
It's still a good way to be tied into a massive worldwide accepted game, and you can still have a lot of fun there and not know about some of these other things we want to do, and you can still have a great time there. So yeah,
right. Well, that's right, and I think like the fun part is to your point. Like, we're not going to shut the servers down, right? They're going to be open for as long as people want them around, and that I think just it becomes part of the historical record too, right? Like 10 years from now, when we're on like Unreal Engine 10 or whatever comes next, right? Augmented reality, whatever. When we get to that point, we'll still be able, like, the breadcrumbs will still be there. You'll still be able to, like, upload. I mean, the goal, I think the vision, right? Like that, the idea would be that you can go from whatever hyper realistic, Neuralink thing is going on, but you could go back to where we started. I think that's going to be, for me, like a really, really important part of this. I know I tell the story all the time, but even going back to the original cathedral where like we all kind of started before this turned into the Uplift. Like it's a powerful thing for me. Like it's a sacred place.
Yeah.
And it'd be, even if it's just for fun or whatever, like that people that are building memories with other people doing things together in the Uplift now. I think it's totally important that we keep that around as much as we can, right? As much as sort of makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, I've made being in the cartoon comics industry since the 80s and putting out books that, have, some autobiographical comics. So it's like my old history. That there's stuff in there that, people are rediscovering even today. So like I have a friend of mine, my daughter's high school teacher has read my graphic novel. And so now he's discovering all this old stuff, flipping through a physical graphic novel about the Silly Daddy comics. And in the same way, as you walk through what we're calling the gallery we built last year,
right? Ancient history of the Uplift from 12 months ago.
But so much has happened since then, and people can, as a fine artist, you can actually see, okay, I decided where all that stuff goes and what the environment is, and there is an art historical narrative that a historian can pull from that and realize, wow, why did he put this thing by that piece, and why is it? Why can these pieces you can only see if you survive a mob attack?
Well, or like is this the first art gravity drop?
I think it is.
Right? Like that's like,
it is the absolute first one in art history.
Right.
Yes.
And that to me, like I'm so grateful for, the kinds of things that you guys played around with, because it really is like the Uplift as the medium itself. We're displaying and we're building and we're creating the architecture of these things, but we're sort of scratching the surface, I think, of, how can we start putting these things together in novel ways to kind of make them, magical. I know Emtiber and it's Mountain Biker. I always call him Emtiber. And Rocket Gallery, like they made those cubes where you go in and it's just 360 degrees, all spherical, well, cubical, whatever, all pictures, right? So you can go in there, there's no wall in the picture, whatever. But then you're in this immersive experience of like, I'm not in Minecraft anymore. Like this is completely different, right?
Yeah.
That's another thing. Like, how did I not see that coming, right? Like it's an amazing thing that we're able to do. And then just like tack those on to all the things that we're learning. And, how does this play out 5 years from now when, we're in mind test, but we're building the construct itself as a DAO, right? So like, what are the tools and the methodologies that we want to build so that we can start iterating and create more pieces and more pieces and more pieces to really ramp that up? Like, that's like, obviously I'm getting stoked. Like I'm getting more like fired up just thinking about it, right? Like, it's like, A, we're not dead, as some people are still very confused about. And B, like, we're fired up as hell. Like this is like, we're still on this journey of discovery, figuring stuff out in a way that like is, going to be around for thousands of years. The history, like, hey, this is how the metaverse started, right?
Yeah.
It's messy and weird, and everybody was doing different things, and who knows where it's all going to end up. But this will still be around in some form or another. Like this is going to be, to me anyway, it's a really important part of kind of racing at the future.
Yeah, and taking a long view, you think back to the turn of the previous century, where you had just after that you had Toulouse-Lautrec and Van Gogh and Gauguin and all these contemporaries, the Impressionists, and then some of the after them the Futurists, and like, oh, who knew who? Oh, Gauguin knew Van Gogh, and they wrote letters, and some of them hung out at the same spots, and they collaborated in certain ways and gave each other advice, and this is what they built. And so that's an important part of that history. And in the same way, the things we're doing on Telegram or Discord or these YouTube streams are going to be part of that story that the historians will look at, and so we are making history.
I agree, and I hung out with Russell Corris. I don't know if you've met him yet. I need to have him on here so we can shoot the shit. But he invited me to this artificial intelligence symposium, in New York when we were doing the NFT NYC thing. And nice. I had heard about these guys. They're the guys that made the Sophia the robot, which is the animatronic kind of. To me, like, I kind of understand enough about artificial intelligence that I know that it's not that interesting, but it's cracking people's brains open, which they admit is the point, right?
Yeah.
and they're getting better all the time. Anyway, so in this symposium, they go through, it's actually like a network of startups that are in the sort of artificial intelligence space, and what they're actually building is scary. For example, this one music thing, it started as, like, if you do any music online, it's impossible to jam because the latency, it just it breaks my brain. Like, because you can't listen and play at the same time because you're whatever. So they were figuring out, okay, well, what if we use an AI to listen to me playing, extrapolate what I'm playing, and send a projection of what I'm probably going to play a second from now, right, to you, who we're playing with, to basically get rid of the latency. Like, is that possible? And they mess around with it. And like, yes, while they're doing that, they realized, wait a minute, like, this thing is actually tracking stylistic variance. So what if we fed it the entire music history of Corey? And I have like maybe tens of thousands of hours of music online, because the second the go live button went on Facebook, I started doing every show live, right? 3-4 hours, sometimes twice a night, like, at least thousands of hours of me playing music, right? So it's going to be able to scrape all of that and make a construct of how I play, right? So it could play any of the songs that I know very easily, but they would be able to learn a new song and play that like me. Right?
That's very cool.
And I'll own that and get royalties on playing songs that I've never played.
That's
right. And so what happens when that same AI, say a history bot AI, comes and scrapes every one of these shows and makes a searchable contextual history of the Uplift? Like, that's the thing that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. And then, you want to look at all the art that's come out of it or whatever, like all the 3D objects are going to be available. Those are going to be able to be scraped too, right? Like, you're going to have a situation where the AI is going to be able to scrape 3-dimensional objects in the same way that it scrapes websites, right? Anyway, it's just going to get weird.
No, that's exciting. And then we already have a number of, AI, or at least GAN, the generative art in the Uplift too, because I use it from time to time, not always, but from time to time I'll use it to spice up something I've drawn, or to add a base layer to the color, and then I'll color on top of that with these GAN networks. And so it's already in there. And so it's cool. It's another incredible tool.
Yep. So what do you got going on? Like, what have you guys been doing the last I don't think we've had a really decent conversation in at least a couple months.
Yeah. So every week I still put in new installations in the Uplift. So a new art is going in every week. And this, I'd say for the past few months, I'm putting stuff exclusively within the Brawl gallery. So like in the beginning, I was just building out the Brawl gallery, where, the rest of the Artvndgmchn gallery in Uplift was, I put it so it's well lit. You won't get attacked by monsters. But in the Brawl gallery, the minute you enter, you're probably, if you don't have a sword, you're dead.
You're gonna die.
You just gotta run.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
way to make people work for it.
Yeah. So I built that out, and it's you have to go through this labyrinth and stuff like that. And then now there's art in the labyrinth, in these kind of battle hardened spaces. And then after you get through all that, when you go through that gauntlet, then there's a gallery where you don't have to fight your way as much. So it's
battle hardened galleries. Like, you want to come look at my art? Be prepared to not die.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I've been doing that, and I do like that. I like that experience, because, like I said, as somebody who sees a lot of art, you could, like, if I just want to see the art, there's no reason for me to go to the metaverse, because let me just go, where's the market, or where Google Images, or what marketplace is on. Let me see it. Boom, done. But if I want to have more of a game interactive experience, then I do need to. It can't be just, I'm walking around in 3D, kind of cool. There needs to be some sort of other instigation going on, other engagement going on. Otherwise, it's just a matter of, eventually, if we don't do this gamification, eventually it's going to become like what the website, what the internet became, whereas everybody has their own, every artist has their own portfolio. And now they're just all raising their hand. Hey, come and see my portfolio. Come and see mine. And
like it has to be about it to me anyway. And like I love the gamification angle because I wasn't thinking about that, and I think you're totally right because that's something that we can do now. That like it's tough to play paintball in a real world gallery, right? Or be threatened with imminent death to go see a painting.
Yes,
which is fun. But I think like what bootstrapped the idea of the Uplift in the first place was the idea that you could do things together that would last for a long time, right? So like this is where I get kind of excited about the events or whatever, like being able to go to a gallery and experience that together, right? Which is why we don't have proximity audio, and like it's going to be the holy grail of the Uplift until we're on some platform that has it, right? So that you deepen that feeling, and you can do it with Discord or whatever. This is how everybody's been doing it already, right? Like you're playing, but you have that open audio channel so that you legitimately feel like I'm in a room with Joe Giappetta and we're looking at this painting, or he's like, hey, get over here, or hey, don't get killed by that skeleton, or whatever, right? Like we get to feel like we're in a place. Like the Uplift or Minecraft or these games, like it for me anyway, the idea that you're in a video game goes away pretty quickly to the point where you just kind of you feel like you're there. But when you're there with someone and building something together, that feeling gets way deeper. And like, so what do you think about like the galleries kind of leaning on that, or the metaverse, that use case of being able to feel like we as sort of hyper intelligent monkeys who really like being together, right, get to feel like we're together in a place experiencing this stuff?
Yeah, well, I do think there's going to be a significant increase in that, because I mean, here's the reality: there's no replacement for real life, that's for sure. But when I can't be at a physical gallery, or I can't be across the nation with you walking through something, I can do the next best thing. So I'll give you an example of something unexpected, because that's the beauty of seeing stuff in the metaverse where there's some sort of unexpected gamification to it. There is new experiences that can happen that couldn't happen elsewhere. So here's one example. So I go in there with, when I do the art installs, we go in with Jen, and Jen, I tell her the dimensions of what art I want installed, and her avatar's there, my avatar's there. And this is like art history is already being made. This is like a first for this. All right. So it's not widely known yet, but what happens is very often is she'll take the image and import it into the Uplift world onto the blocks that I tell her to put it on. But for some reason, quite often it comes out way bigger at first.
Yeah, right? The resolution. Yeah.
And if there's art right below it, the art that's coming in will like a pattern, a weaving pattern, basket weaving, will interact with this other art and create completely odd and bizarre glitch blended art of those two things.
That's cool. I did not know that.
And it only lasts until Jen decides to resize it to the actual size it's supposed to be. Right. And so I've been taking screen captures of when those things happen.
Nice.
And that so like I'm basically making art about her accidents.
That's meta.
About my art and the other people's art in Art Vending Machine. Yeah, so that innovation is going to be eventually going to be a show. So I think I already have a piece that's in there that became an NFT and part of the show already, but it'll be like its own exhibit eventually. So those kind of things you can't do in real life. So it's
that's fun. That's fun. All right, hey, I just want to make sure we don't forget to do gratitudes here.
Oh, awesome.
Starting to get kind of tall up in here.
Wow.
There's tenacity.
Right? Yeah, amazing things happen when you just don't quit. So Joe, tell me one thing you're grateful for. please and thank you.
Did you say me or Lisa?
You please, Joe.
Oh, so I am grateful for the accidental glitch art that Jen and I are creating. Accidental glitch art that Jen and I are creating. And I don't even think she knows. I haven't even told her this yet. So she does. This is like news to her.
Awesome. All right, Lisa C.
I am grateful for Joe's tenacity, having been in the community so long and continuing to build.
Amen.
It's amazing.
To
It is
that.
historical.
Yeah.
You know, if I was going to add another one, I'd say something about communities in the uplift, because really, I don't know. It's one of those things. I don't know if you designed it intentionally, but it's really what is making the uplift so resilient and allowing it to decentralize platforms, because it's about the community of communities, right? And the members of those communities.
Right. I mean, that, like, I would say that it's a guiding principle.
Yeah. Well, and it's become an example for dozens and dozens of other projects of all types. And I've been a long fan of community engagement and communities as the better way to market rather than big centralized organizations. And it resonates better. The messages resonate better with the people involved in those communities. They have shared values. They hang out together. They respond to certain things better. It makes it work better all around. And of course, most importantly, you get what the communities want. And you add those all up, you get everyone. So it's a really great model. And I think it's going to be everything in the future. I think in 20 years, everything will be community-based, whether it's local, regional, or affiliation of sorts.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I would say that I know you're doing this for sure. I agree with it. I'm thinking a lot about, the DAO and sort of what personally I'm learning there, and sort of how it's percolating into, the ecosystem of the uplift and the communities of the uplift, and me just wanting to like 10x it literally. I want to get on that, and I know that the future that you think about a lot, and I share this, like the idea that can percolate through everything that we're doing as a human species. Like, if we could evolve a way to do governance more locally to areas or ideas or tribes, so that you can have those feedback loops that actually start to work. I think that's a future that, that time, I want to work towards that timeline, not just hope that it shows up. You know what I mean?
that's what we're doing today, right?
Yeah.
Because look, Joe's got his community, JR's got his community, right? I've got what you got. Here we all are collaborating. I was talking to someone yesterday, the old way with licensing fees and negotiations of months and months. It's like, why don't we just do something for our communities that they value?
Yeah.
And it's fun and it works. And I think it'll scale once everyone once the mechanisms are in place, we've experimented enough, we've learned enough that people can see the path to making money, then it will scale. So it's a good time to experiment and try different things and collaborate and try to build our best future. And you never know what day is going to be a good day, but I think we've all been through it enough to know those days come.
Yeah, that starting the beginning, I'm just grateful for you guys today, for reals. Starting this bear market with momentum, because we really have it, right? And like the rest of the market, like everything is going to zero and going very, very silent. And here we are, obviously, like we're there's a lot of challenges, and trying to figure out how to sort of keep the lights on or whatever is like a non-trivial thing. But I really do feel like we've got the core community of people that still believe in this vision and want to affect its realization are here. and that's a lot more than we had at the beginning, right? Like now we've got, you know, an army of, you know, a couple hundred people that are like, yeah, no, we're gonna make this into a thing.
Yeah,
And
forever.
that's huge. That's huge to start out the bear market. And yeah, obviously this whole call has been getting me fired
But you
up.
know what? Forget the market. Just forget about it, right? Like, I know everyone wants money. Okay, that's fine. But forget about it. Like, let's just like have some fun. Let's help each other, right? Like, I've seen that. We've all seen that. We all help each other, right? And at some point or another. And what happens of that? Let's create some stuff. Let's try some stuff. You know, let's see where it's hard, see where it's easy, and the rest, it tends to come. And like, this is the future, in my opinion. Hashtag not financial advice. Free video. By the way, hey Joe, I want to know, I want to know this from all the communities, because I don't necessarily know this, but how did you meet JR, or have you yet? I don't really know. Who knows? Everyone thinks such wonderful things about him. I'm like, wow. But I mean, seriously, like everyone's like, anything for JR, anything for JR. I'm like, wow, what's been going on the past year? But
so I've never met him, but it's really just through you. And
okay, good. Well, we'll work on that. Yeah. We got to have some events. He's so excited about everything. He's probably watching and chatting, you know, all about things as we're getting everything ready to go out. And so I think we should have some, Corey, we might need to schedule a party.
All right, keep threatening me with a good time.
Yeah, but we can have a blending
Maybe
party.
part of the Twitter space, as you know, like live on YouTube and the Twitter space. Is that weird at the same time?
What? Sorry, what's that?
YouTube and Twitter space at the same time?
I think Sam might have tried that. I like the idea. But I haven't done it personally, so I don't know if there's any like sort of technical constraints that would make it weird, but we should try it. I mean, why not?
Well, let's definitely plan a party, and maybe it'll be like, you know, the preview to the circus or something. I don't know. It's so fun playing with that theme, but yeah, it would be great to have everyone chatting, getting to know each other more, because this is, I'm sure, just the beginning of a very long journey together. I mean, I hope there's a lot of things we can brainstorm for the world together, you know?
I'm wondering if there's got to be a way to do it. I'm thinking like if I used OBS, I could stream my in-game footage and the audio from Twitter Spaces, because I actually have an Android emulator running on my computer now. So it can pull the audio from that, and then we'd all just be in the world. And so the YouTube experience would be the audio and the video that is just sort of my first-person camera or whatever.
I feel like it would be easy to stream to Discord too.
Yeah,
I think Discord will take it.
Huh.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
let's have a party. Woohoo! Party people.
Yeah.
And now, how do we do that?
Right?
What do we do?
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
That's a live example of collaborating, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I think you're talking about communities and JR's lands and things like that, and what's happening with the things that we can do in the Uplift as a community, the folks involved in Artvndgmchn as a community, and then Alien Worlds and JR's lands is get to the end of this the following statement. So in the art world, most people without community, they're just, it's, hey, look what I can do. I'm awesome. Here, look what I can do. Yeah. And then with all this, some of this metaverse interactive stuff that we're heavily engaged in now with the JR's lands that I'll talk about in a minute, it's more of, hey, look what you can do with me. And now you start to realize, oh, wow, this is a whole ecosystem. So now it's, look what we can do. And that's really the more gratifying response. Look what we can do. Because in the end, there's only so long you could hear somebody brag about themselves. It gets kind of boring. You know, you want to be involved, included. And that's really where we're headed. So it's exciting. And I think that's the bridge to JR's lands is just so cool what he's helping us all do by being able to have people mine on his land in Alien Worlds game. And then you could, you know, at the top of each hour for this week, this current week, you can get an Artvndgmchn NFT. If you get 10 of those, if you do that 10 times, then you could blend them into the color version. Even though the black and white versions, I think it's pretty solid drawing by itself, but you could also blend that and get the color version, which is more rare. And that's just, just one of the things that we can cook up and do together is what we can do. So it's exciting.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
It's on Twitter if anyone wants to see it. We've been tweeting it around, but I saw that color one for the first time. And I was like, wow, whoa, oh, wow. I was like, I mean, it's really vivid. There's something about it. There must be like a lot of color depth or some strategy to it, but it's more vivid than most, color drawings, certainly anything I've ever done, but it's awesome. It's really awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, I had some fun with it. I did. But yeah, I did. Truth be told, if it was up to me, I would just draw with like black and white, because that's really just, I'm a simple kind of guy at heart. I just like to draw black and white. That's for my old training. I just do my black and white comics. In the old days, it's cheaper to print in black and white as a young entrepreneur. That's all I could afford. And so that's what I would do. So I just became really fluid at that. And then it takes more time to color. And I really just like to get the idea out. And then if somebody else wants to color it, great. So actually for years, my wife would color some of my work. She doesn't do that as much now. But she always encourages me. She's like, this is nice, but honey, it would really look better in color. Like, people like color. I'm like, oh, you're right. And then I realized, well, let me push this over the top with the J.R. Lands giveaway, where, they can get this by, playing Alien Worlds, but then they can get the color version if they really go after grabbing 10 of these. And so the art would never have been colored by me if there wasn't this opportunity through the J.R. Lands and Nefty blocks to blend it. And then, of course, the color one's going to be on exhibit in the Uplift. So there's all these, this spider web of activity that is created out of this, and then the we of the community can be part of it. So it just opens up all these things that it influences me and the community, its influence, and we kind of feed off each other.
Yeah, makes us all better. See, that's why the world has to be a better place in the future by us collaborating, because in each micro example, it makes us all better like that, right? And so if we're all doing that, that's like, there has to be a synergistic effect across the world, right? Throughout the world, I guess.
No, that's like it. I mean, at any time, there's that always that possibility of worry or anxiety or, being concerned about this situation or that situation, and action is the way out, right? Community action is the way out that is viral and contagious, right? So then suddenly, like, we do it, it will work, and then everybody else gets to do it. And of course, with Open Door, you want to come in and tap into your creativity and be in a community that is just like that, right? Like, yeah, man, like that's worth waking up in the morning and coming and doing this stuff and supporting it in any way that I can. Like, that's like, if I die tomorrow, at least having lived these moments, trying to increase the number of interactions that, are in the vein that we're talking about, my life would have been well spent.
Well, I think, well, go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just agreeing, cheering you on. Go ahead.
So there's, I think it was years ago, I heard a sermon at church, and it was about the lies we believe. And so we can believe all kinds of stuff about ourselves that's absolutely not true. But if there's nobody else around us to help us see what's true, we'll still believe those lies. And one of the lies that we believe is, especially as a creative person, you could have a lull in sales and you're not selling a lot. And there's the truth is there's two different realms. There's the market, which is with all the economics, and then there's the creative process, which is a completely different category. But you have to learn to bridge the two, but also keep it separate. So the truth is, it doesn't creatively. I can still use my God-given talents to make whatever I think I want to communicate that would be valuable to people. The lie is, oh, nobody has really said much or put money down on my work lately, and therefore I'm going to believe the lie that I'm just not very good and I shouldn't do it anymore. And that's not true. It really isn't. And a community can help somebody see that, and also then encourage you by some will help talk up your work, and then that actually feeds into the market. But it kind of helps each other. It helps work itself out if you have that community.
Yeah. And again, if more people can tap into, your tenacity, as Lisa put it, right? Like that, how many more, brilliant artists will there be? I mean, that's like the thing that, because I talk to a lot of, entrepreneurs in this space, and people message me every once in a while, and I absolutely love that. And please continue. The thing that comes up, if people haven't started yet, the thing that stops them all the time is like, well, what if this and what if that, or what if that? And I'm like, stop. If you don't start right now, I swear to you, you never will. Like, you have already failed. Failure is now, right now. You've already failed. All your worry, that lie you're telling yourself, Joe, right? Like that something will get in the way, or that you need this, that, or the next thing. All of that has set the condition right now at fail. So you've already failed. Good for you. Now go fucking get to work and try it. Right? Like, start and iterate. And then they can get in the arena, whether it's creativity or business or anything like that, right? And then the real thing is, if you're still trying and iterating and learning and taking ruthless responsibility for your own results. If you blame it on the market, or if you blame it on this, and I'm guilty of this sometimes too, but if you do that, you're robbing yourself of the agency to iterate and move forward, right? And in a community, you're going to have that reflected back at you so often that I think it helps us to evolve and get stronger a lot faster, and just not die. I mean, how many projects do we see die this year? Right?
Yeah,
most of them.
It's so true. I'm to that. I'm doing a so my wife and I, we also lead a program in the church called Life Skills, and I actually released an NFT on wax, and it is I think it's on exhibit, or it will be it's either on exhibit or it will be on exhibit in the Uplift. But it's two dogs, and they're just kind of chilling, and one dog says to the other, hey, do you have any life skills? And the other dog says, well, I haven't died yet. So that's the joke. But the reality is, we all need life skills, all right? And so many people, they don't teach this basic principle in school, which is, it's in the Bible, is make the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil. So the days are bad if you aren't making the most of your time. So there's a ton of people that just, and this is, in the church, outside the church, I've been there too, is where you're just wasting time because you're just watching stuff you shouldn't be watching for too long. You could, watch stuff, but just, you're not being as productive with the God-given abilities that you have. And so then you start to decay, and your mind gets dull, and it's more of a take, as opposed to let me give back. But when people realize that, yes, they're not born with money, but they're born with this God-given ability to produce good work creatively, or other work, service, whatever it is, then they realize, wow, I'm alive, I'm healthy, I have enough health to work. So these are my producing years. So let me get to producing. And there's stuff that I made decades ago that people are discovering now. There's stuff that, I made and I literally forgot about it's selling now, and people are talking about it now. So it really is time is a valuable asset that we need to use it or lose it.
The 100%, right? I was actually listening to Gary Vee a little bit this morning, and he was talking about, gratitude practice and that kind of thing, and really seizing the day, making the most of it as like being the kind of prime directive. And the way he said it is like, after you die, like we're all gonna die. When you die, you're gonna be dead for a long time, like a really just goofy long time, right? And before you were born, you were also dead for a very, very, very long time, right? So we've got this tiny little window where we're this thing in this place with the ability to literally do anything that we want to do with our time, right?
Yeah.
And just like every millisecond, and people need rest. I've been guilty of not taking this or whatever. So like rest being included in that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But, and I think when we talk about producing, and I'm sure you mean it this way, but for a long time, like I thought productivity had to be like making money or like doing work stuff. No, it means like producing something that you value, and that maybe you can be giving to others so that they will value, right? And it's a huge thing. Could be music, could be art, could be business, could be how to make money, whatever. Could be any of those things. But what, like, basically exercising your passion, right? And yeah, just getting to that point where, and I've been going through this a little bit because like sort of lacking inspiration and like trying to like buckle down to do the things that I need doing for Uplift. And I actually started working on like a little artsy fartsy NFT project just to kind of like kick my creative juices up. I've been really messing around with the AI art things.
Oh, awesome.
It's having so much fun. And I've produced like a mountain of content. And it's only getting better as the engine's getting. I finally got on the list for like DALL-E 2, and it's just amazing stuff. And so like an hour a day, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll do like a little writing because I've wanted this daily writing habit for a long time or whatever, right? So I only get to do an hour a day because I've got a lot of stuff I got to get done for Uplift and everything else.
Yeah.
But it like wakes my brain up. And now I'm like in this space where like, yeah, NFTs and art and creativity and Uplift and go, right? And so just, anyway, I'm fucking ranting like a crazy person now, but just full bore agree to everything that you said.
Well, I
know where you might be able to drop some of those NFTs, Corey.
No, these are all. I'm not going to drop any for free. I'll say I'm making a little proto white paper on it like that, and honestly, like I'm going to put them all up for sale. I don't care if any of them sell, like that. But I'm not going to give them away for free.
Well, everything is an experiment. You're tapping into what a lot of people, I would say most people, really care about, which is creating.
Yeah.
Once they're willing to explore the metaverse, so to speak, then most people are like, wait, what would I do? How could I do it? And so hearing examples like Joe saying, oh, you go to Nifty Blocks, you mint some NFTs, you set up a blend, turn it into something else, right? That's a perfect example of something some do. But then there's the next step. What do you want to do next with it, right? Do you want to send them some? Do you want to what, right? So each thing, well, like we don't have to just build one big game, right?
Right.
This is a place or space where people can come create. They can come, build on a land that they get or one of their community members has that they'll let them build on and play, right? It doesn't have to be like the perfect all in one big game at one time, comes out kind of a thing.
Yep.
And what we see like with Alien Worlds, it's not only a game, it's a community game platform, which I don't know if it was intended that way or not, but we've certainly been using it that way because
it definitely is that. I totally agree.
Yeah, it's publicly available. So, people can come in and set up a I don't know if you want to call it like a game mechanic or an experience for their community and just cause some play among their friends and see how things work and maybe it's not as scary as it seems at first once you sort of just hang out in the communities in Telegram or Discord or Twitter, wherever, and follow some of I guess some people would call communities maybe brands or characters or projects or groups of friends, all those things. But any of those things, if they have an account and they're creating great art and interesting content, engaging opportunities, then, there's people there that have lots of information that could be. I mean, there's people that are trying to take all their whatever too, but but anyway, so but like Nifty Blocks and Atomic and Wax, those are all great communities, obviously, as well as the communities mentioned on the show here today. But I think more and more people are getting excited, like the excitement the past week, oh my gosh, about JR's lands, like people participating, people mining, like they're like, yeah, something to do. So it's like, okay, you can make your own too, right? And then you can participate with others. And
yeah,
there's so much that people can do. It's just a fun time in the Crown tradition experiment,
Yeah. Amen. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
all right. Do you guys have? Sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
One more thing. There is a aspect of this that I want to touch on, which is these DAOs, these decentralized autonomous organizations. So we know that the Uplift has its own DAO, and I get the sense that Alien Worlds is gonna be a DAO or is already a DAO, but it's kind of
the planet. Alien Worlds has 6 planets, and this is worth looking into. And I just discovered, if you go to Explorer Station, which is at alienworlds.io, you can look up the planets, and they have the links to their blockchain accounts. Each of these planets have a very large amount of Trillium in them. And every day, I'm sure there's many, many people calculating what that's worth, anticipating and plotting and planning, because each planet is going to have, last I heard anyway, I don't know the latest, but 5 counselors. Okay, so 6 planets times 5 counselors each. They could be the same people or different people, but they're elected in by players who stake Trillium. So they say, okay, I'm going to be a part of this planet, and they put some Trillium on there that they get from mining, and they say, okay, now what? And the rest is imagination. I mean, there's lands and there's lore, but it's like, okay, I'm going to have a beach party on the rocky coastline on Velas. Like, okay, let's do it, right? And so whatever it is. But let's say I want to run for office, I could say, well, I want to take some of that Trillium and give it to everyone who travels Uplift World this month, or who visits, Joe's galleries, or who has participated in JR's lands, or who will next month. It's better if it's future, of course, so they can do something and it's fun.
Yeah. No, I mean, that, like, just the idea, and I've been workshopping a World DAO functionality for the Uplift that I think we're going to launch quickly. Just to kind of poke our friends at Alien Worlds who've been taking their sweet ass time in the DAO planet situation. That's from a deep well of love. But I mean, like, the idea is so good, right? Like, it makes sense. And it actually came up because, like, we have governance things running through the global Uplift DAO for Borvalis, right? It doesn't get the right kind of attention. It like, this is like a world specific thing. And that's what made me think, like, why are we not doing that with things like Wax DAO and how easy, gasless voting has been on snapshot.org. Like, why aren't we releasing DAO tokens for each one of the worlds yet? And, like, the answer I got from, Tuttle is always, like, I take all my crazy ideas to Tuttle. If she goes, no, that's a good idea, I start writing like crazy. It's like, time, it's go time, right? And, like, what's the MVP that we can release really quickly so we can start iterating? Because that's where the real rubber meets the road. Like trying to make something perfect. It's smarter people than me do that, and they do it really well. Alien Worlds is a really good example of that, right? Like, they'll work on it until it's really close to perfect. I'm like, no, let's just release it, find out what happens, right? And I'm excited about that, because I think, like, the sooner we get to the point where we start studying how we actually collaborate when there are tokens of value and real governance situations, and then real possibilities, right? Like what are we going to do with these DAO tokens? How do we, incentivize it? How each world does that? And if we're doing that over 8-9 worlds, we're going to see and learn really, really quickly what works, right? Especially when we start doing, like, uplifting bonuses for things and shit like that from the global perspective, right? So it makes for an experience that will, gamify governance, right? Which, honestly, like, Crown and Alien Worlds, like, taught me to think that way.
Well, in this case, it's governance of tokens, which have real world value in many ways, right?
Oh,
In the
100%.
game,
Like that
the game.
marketplace. Yeah, no,
And like,
it's tons.
this is the time to think about it, right? Because once they say, go ahead, it's like, well, wait, what are we going to do? Well, how about thinking about that ahead of time, right? So in other words, like if people like tokens that some people perceive have value, then they might want to spend some time in their communities thinking about how to go get them.
Right.
Well, and there's the human element of it. So, for example, I have a relationship with Corey, and I have a relationship with you, Lisa. And through the goodwill of JR's Lands, I have a relationship with JR's Lands. I don't know all the ins and outs of Alien Worlds. I play the game now and then. And even though I've been involved in the Uplift for a while, I still don't know all the ins and outs of that as well. But I know that DAOs are a really viable way to do things. So my thinking is, well, I have these relationships with these folks. Which DAOs are they going to be in? I want to be aligned with them because I trust their experience because of our relationship. And I also trust that there's going to be a way that these DAOs, the Alien Worlds and Uplift, will be able to work together in more ways, and we'll figure that out as we go along. Just in the same way that, Canada works with the United States in certain capacities, and to the mutual benefit for everybody when possible. So I think that's where we're headed.
I totally agree. And you bring up, like, we talk about attention being, one of, if not the most valuable commodities, right? And so you draw from that to like the Joe Chiapetta only has so much time, and one of the ways that we chunk figuring out what to do, like, cool, what's my tribe doing? My trusted people.
Yes.
What are my trusted people doing? And that's a way to compress the entire thinking of my tribe of people who share my principles, my values, yada, 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 right? Into making very fast decisions that will have a much higher probability of being more accurate for you, which is really fun, right?
Very true. That's very true.
I mean, look at JR. JR he's obviously number one landowner in Alien Worlds, although someone might go compete for that title since we're talking about it so much. But, but he's also in like a lot of the other Wax games. I can't say all, but I know he's in a lot of them as a very significant player for a very long time. So I have a feeling when people, when he has something like, hey, this would be good for the ecosystem, people are definitely going to take that seriously and enter into discussion with him, So I look forward to that in the future.
Yeah, that's going to be good. All right, guys, we're hitting the top of the hour. Is there anything else you guys want to share before we break here? And also, like, I've been drinking tons of coffee and I got to go pee. That's why I got to race.
JRslands.com. Go pick a land, and any land will do of JR's Lands, and go mine at play.alienworlds.io. And if you hit the top of the hour, the first 10 miners each hour around the clock will get one of Artvndgmchn's NFTs, as well as one of JR's Lands Surface Tickets NFT. So see you then.
Well said.
JRslands.com. Yo.
Yeah.
And then for me, just you can keep up with what I'm doing. The best way is on Twitter, and I'm Joey Chips, like potato chips, but Joey Chips. And I'm always up to some exciting things. And actually, if anybody's in Los Angeles or Anaheim this Friday, that's the 12th of August, 2020, at 2:00, I'll be teaching a life skills class, talking about some of the things I was talking about earlier, and you're welcome to come. It's gonna be awesome. My wife and I'll be there.
Joe, thanks for everything that you do. Like, you're bringing as much positivity and joy and learning as you can to everyone, and you always have since I met you. I'm grateful to know you. I
appreciate you, Corey. Thank you so much for saying that, and all your hard work. It's very impressive. It's thank you, and thank you, Lisa, for being
awesome. All right. Thanks for joining me, guys. We'll have to do it again soon.
Yes. Bye. Thanks.
Bye.